This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
And then after 2 to 4 years, that bamboo, when it grows through the ground, you can't stop it. So, like, imagine, are you willing to make the sacrifice of a small period of your life of building something behind the scenes? And then when the time is right, it will flourish. There's a seed time and a harvest time. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. So the day you plant the seed, you need to water it, you need to nurture it, you need to love on it, and make sure it gets the proper sunlight. That's the same thing with you. You need to make sure you're eating properly, you're sleeping properly, you're talking to yourself kindly, and eventually all of those nourishing aspects that you're adding to yourself, it will cause you to bloom at the right time. So don't give up because you don't see any results right away.
Leo season's here, and if you've been craving the courage to show up and be truly seen, I made something for you. Safe to Be Seen is my new seasonal workbook filled with soul-centered prompts, mirror work, and grounding rituals to help you embody your light without fear. This isn't about performance, it's about presence, and you're ready. Download it now at my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or you can go to my link tree on my Instagram, and there is a link directly there. Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Today's guest is Anita Waclaw. We had such a beautiful conversation. She's just like so kind and soft and lovely. I really enjoyed her. Anita is a transformation guide, wellness advocate, and the voice behind the powerful movement Nourished Inside Out. Once a ballet dancer and hairstylist, she took the pain of an unhealthy relationship and turned it into purpose, helping thousands of women heal, reclaim their confidence, and rebuild their lives after heartbreak. She's the author of Blooming with Self-Love and the host of a popular podcast that dives deep into mindset, emotional wellness, and self-worth. Through her affirmations, journaling practices, and unapologetic self-care teachings, Anita empowers her audience to break free from the patterns that no longer serve them and step boldly into the life they truly deserve. When Anita speaks, she speaks from experience, with heart, honesty, and hope. She reminds us all that healing isn't about going back, it's about rising up, nourishing yourself from within, and choosing yourself every single day. I will make sure that I include links to her Instagram, YouTube, Substack. I think this is the Substack icon. If not, it is another blogging site, so I'll make sure to include that. And her bio site where you can find her podcast, but I will, and her book, Blooming with Self-Love, and stay up to date with her writing. So yeah, I'll include that link as well. So, okay, I hope everyone's doing well. I can't think of anything to say. So I guess that's it. I love you. Thank you for being here. Here's me and Anita. Okay. So, this is the thing that really like pulled to me whenever I was looking at your profile is, well, it's a feeling that I get, and it's about like you. I feel so connected to you in this way because we are both basically using our own personal stories. Like all of this transformation happened from whatever we each experienced, and we're now using that light to help others. And I don't know, the further I get into spirituality and whatever, I'm like, oh, I think maybe that's what we're all supposed to do. It's like once we learn what our big lesson or whatever in this lifetime is, like that we help others with that piece of humanity, for lack of a better word, you know? So I'm really drawn to that. But I think that's a really good place to start. If you don't mind just sharing kind of however you want to summarize what that part of your life was to now. I mean, I probably didn't work. I'm having a little bit of an off day. I'm just gonna be honest. But just like if I were to just ask you, tell me about yourself, how'd you get here? Just a short little whatever to jumpstart, just because I was really curious about your toxic relationship. Mostly because I've kind of been the toxic partner in most of my relationships, but you know.
That's a really valuable insight that you just said. You said that you have been 9 times out of 10 the toxic partner in the relationship. So I want to piggyback off that actually, because all you know is all you know. And for me, when I got myself into an unhealthy, toxic relationship, I was 20 years old. And I lacked emotional intelligence, I lacked clarity, I lacked how to build what I didn't even know what the definition of a healthy relationship was. So I was going into it blindfolded, and it was both of us that were toxic to each other. We just didn't see it at the time, or we were just numbing and hoping that things change. But we know that if nothing changes, nothing changes. I was toxic to him, he was toxic to me, and we thought just by putting band-aids on the relationship would help, but it didn't. So it goes down this whole long recovery because we were together for about 3 years. When I was 20, we met, toxic as can be, but I didn't see that as an issue. I saw that as, well, couples fight, well, couples argue.
This is
It's
normal,
normal.
yeah.
Exactly. It seems normal. But what we don't realize is when the name calling comes in, the manipulation comes in, the
Mhm.
isolating comes in, we don't even realize those are red flags or toxic habits because we have our blinders on. So I had my blinders on and I've learned this recently. It's a term called fawning. When
Yeah.
somebody is like being so headstrong about their opinions and you try to fight back and then you just get pressed down. It's like a type of fawning, and that's what I did for 3 years is I would try to say something and I would try to stand up for myself, then I would always get pushed down.
You have said so much. My brain just started firing off like all of these questions, and I'm like, no, focus. Um, I love to hear you say this because I feel like it takes a higher level of consciousness to be able to take into account victim consciousness. That we really do create our victimhood inside of this box when we only see the world one way. I mean, because that's really what it boils down to, right? And this is why I think this is what was distracting me because I like wanted to. I'm an interrupter, so I try not to do that. But I wanted to say it, and then I was like, well, you probably shouldn't say that anyway. But truly, this is why I feel like most I'm nervous traditional like therapy models for couples aren't it because it still has a very polarizing view of a situation. One party's right, one party's wrong. Even when you can say, well, you can understand how they feel this, right? And you can understand how they feel this, right? It's still not there because you have to see how it is your projection and your perception that's shaping this reality. And until you know all about yourself, you can't be in a healthy relationship because you're asking them to almost recreate you, if you haven't done work on yourself. Do you agree, or am I like sounding crazy?
No, I completely agree with you. How can you explain to somebody what your favorite color is if you don't know? How can you explain to somebody what your favorite food is if you don't know? If
Mhm.
you don't know yourself and you don't know what your limits and your boundaries are, how are you going to explain that to somebody else to create a healthy relationship?
Yeah.
This is so interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, my ex and I, we would always eat the same type of food. We would always eat like some kind of Italian food, whether it was pasta or pizza. And then when I left the relationship, I realized those are not even my favorite dishes. Like I'll eat them and I'll tolerate them, but they're really not my favorite dishes. So what was I doing? I was pushing myself down to fit into the image for what somebody else wanted me to be. And I wasn't even truly being myself. So it's like I didn't know who I was because I was trying to fit in this box. I didn't want to ruffle feathers. I was trying to keep the peace. But what I didn't realize was when I was trying to just keep the peace, I was actually destroying myself. Not only was he trying to destroy me, I was self-sabotaging by trying to keep the peace.
At the time, were you telling yourself that you were keeping the peace, or did you feel like you were going with the flow? You know what I mean? Like, well, that's not that big of a deal, so I'll just do that. Like, where it feels like you're just breezy, you're wanting to be that girl that people tell you to be, the girl with not too much attachments, balancing the too much and not enoughness, and not needing them too much, things like that. Did it feel like actually just like keeping peace, or more like I'm just going with the flow?
Both, actually. So when we were in public, my ex would always say, when we're in public, we have to look perfect on the outside. We have to look like we have everything together. And then whatever issues we had to deal with them behind closed doors so nobody would see. So in front of people in the public, I would be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're cool. Yeah, you want to stay out with your friends until 3 a.m.? Go ahead. And then whatever issues we had would be really explosive behind closed doors. So that's where I was trying to keep the peace. I was trying to just not, I was walking on eggshells because I didn't want to deal with the consequences.
Okay, so when you say consequences, was it like, did he do the type of manipulation that was like, you're just being controlling, like if you didn't like him staying out till 3 a.m., like once he got home, because God knows that would have been explosive for me too, if I'm having to force shut down everything that's coming up. I'm a really reactive person by nature anyway, just from trauma. So if I have figured out a way to not completely explode on you in that second because we have to be perfect on the outside, which is absolutely nuts to me. Like, I didn't know anyone ever actually said that out loud. I thought it was like a motivator, like I'm so serious. I cannot believe that. I mean, I definitely know I've thought things like that. I've never said that out loud in my entire life. So I'm a little taken aback by that. But was it like you're trying to control me, or you don't love me, or things like that, or just like whatever, you're crazy?
All of the above. It was all of the above. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychologist. Everything I talk about is based on my personal experience and everything that I have learned through the years on my journey. And I don't use this word lightly, but there was a lot of narcissistic traits. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of love bombing, gaslighting, isolation, all of those things belittling me, telling, like trying to press me down. And in the first year, year and a half, he would always say, like, well, it's not fair that you call me when I'm with my friends. It's not, you shouldn't be texting me when I'm with them because you know I'm with them. But I'm just, it's like 4 in the morning. I'm like, you coming home anytime soon? And he's just like, why are you texting me so much? And it would always be those kinds of little situations. But what I didn't know is, and what I know now is that when somebody accuses you of something, that's what they're doing behind your back. And if I knew that when I was in the relationship, I think I would have woken up a lot earlier. But everything happens at the right time. And I'm thankful I learned it after versus never. But he would always accuse me of cheating and going out with friends. I had no friends. Who am I supposed to go out with?
Isolated me, don't worry. I'm chilling, waiting for you to come home.
Exactly. I'm like, I have no friends. Like, literally, I have one friend that I was friends with, and she lived an hour away, and she was pregnant at the time, and she had another kid at home. Do you think I'm gonna go out with her? Probably not.
Right,
If
right.
anything, I'm gonna go to brunch.
Yeah, and you're gonna know all about it because it's a daytime thing. You can track my location. Like it's food. Man, and when you say narcissistic traits, that was something that I really had to come to accept about myself. I mean, I was raised by a narcissist, and I can understand and have compassion for that experience now, just because I know the motivation is fear. It's a very deep-seated fear. Um, but I was kind of called a narcissist by my ex-husband's wife, and I was like, well, shit, am I? Because I mean, I had read the requirements, the little checklist of symptoms for it, and I was like, "Oh, no, I do kind of sound like that." But it wasn't until I really got into the healing that I understood, of course you had traits from your narcissistic caregiver. Like, of course you did. I hadn't been taught a single healthy skill my whole life. Not for coping, nothing. No, like no skills. And so, not only was I not taught healthy, I was taught very unhealthy, both implicitly and explicitly, and it was bad. And so, where he, like my husband, would look at me and say, like, you are being manipulative. Oh, the rage that would cause, because I'm like, not intentionally, I'm not trying to manipulate you. Well, now I realize I was, but at the time, that's not what it feels like when you're living in an autopilot state and you're just being reactive, you know? So I'm grateful to have figured that out, like, and to be able to identify when I'm doing it. I mean, healing doesn't mean you never do the dumb shit anymore. Like sometimes I do, but I'm really quick to catch myself, and it's usually an internal process now. Like it doesn't really come out with him anymore because I can be like, I don't know about that. Let me check in on what's coming up for me, because that's kind of the process now, is getting curious. Was that a lot of, you said that you figured this stuff out after you guys ended the relationship. When you ended the relationship, I'm sure you were in shambles. Like, because if you didn't have any coping skills, you didn't have a single fucking clue of how to go like onwards and upwards. So tell me kind of what you did to start this journey.
So it was mentally, it was gradual. Physically, it was rapid. Mentally, for 3 months, I was planning on how to leave the relationship safely because also somebody who is explosive with their emotions. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to stir up any issues. And I wanted to leave safely because also, like, he knew where my parents live and, like, he knew that. And my friends, and I didn't want him to cause any issues, so I wanted to leave without ruffling any feathers. And so I was just mentally trying to make a plan. I was like, well, this was October already, and I was thinking, well, if his family is going to come visit us, for Christmas, well, then I'll just stay through Christmas, and then after Christmas, we can decide like what we're gonna do. Like we can just sit down and talk about it. But then right after Christmas, um, things just
Escalated.
completely fell apart. Like it's just like you throw a piece of glass on the floor and you step on it 10 times and run it over with your car. That's how quick things exploded. And it came to a point where I went to go visit my family. They live in another state, really drivable distance from where we were living. But I went there for a day, and then he told me he was going to go on vacation with his family, and we just needed time for ourselves. I said, that's cool. Well, for me, from Chicago to Michigan is a good 2 hours, but Chicago to Florida is a good 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So he took the long road trip, I took the short road trip. And while he was on his way to Florida, I just packed up my stuff and I left. And I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely done with this because that was the safest way that I could leave. Because if he was there, I can't even imagine the hell that would break loose while he was there. Because I know he would try to stop me. I know he would
Mm-hmm.
try to convince me and try to tell me I'm a terrible person for not making this work. But the moment that I walked away from that apartment, I'll never forget, like, I packed my duffel bag. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go visit my parents for a couple days. He said, cool, I'll walk you to your car. He walks me to my car, and the second he closed my car door, I felt all the weight fall off my shoulders. I stopped crying immediately. I called my mom. I was like, hey, mom, I'm gonna come see you, and this is what's happening, but I'm content right now. The emotions were still numb, they
Yeah.
weren't fully processed, but I no longer felt like I was in survival mode.
Wow, that fast. You knew. Your body said, this is the aligned decision. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's really profound that immediately you felt the weight fall off. I mean, that gives me the chills, honestly.
Yeah, it's incredible because it's like as you can be so scared to step to the other side. Like I was terrified. Like I was terrified of what was on the other side because I didn't know. All I knew was being with him for the last 3 years. Like we lived together. We moved in together after 2 months of dating. And from there, like we spent every day together. I went to cosmetology school, graduated. While I was in school, we got married, and then I started working at a salon nearby. And that was my life, was work and him. So that when I was making the decision to leave, I was terrified. But
Yeah.
the pain, it just couldn't compare to the fear on the other side because every single day I was crying. Every single night I was up till 6 a.m. bawling my eyes out. I was looking for the next drug to numb out the pain until I couldn't numb out the pain anymore. I was always high. I was always drunk because I was looking to numb until it couldn't numb it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when I'll never forget the day I called my mom at 2 in the morning after Christmas. I said, Mom, I can't do this anymore. She said, okay, Annetta, just come home. It's okay. And that was yeah, I'm super grateful for my mom and dad's support. And that was like the next day when I packed my bag and I said, I'm out. And that's when all the weight fell off my shoulders.
That's
But it was
amazing.
also 3 months of building up the stress because his family was coming to stay with us for 3 weeks.
Oh,
It was my first time. It was my first time meeting them in person after 3 years, and they
damn.
came to stay with us for 3 weeks. I lasted five
Yeah,
days,
baby,
and I was
listen.
quite happy after
I don't
those
do well
five
with people in
days.
my space to begin with, but then like he didn't get this shit from nowhere, you know what I mean? So you got this whole little codependent, toxic ass family up in your space. Oh, 2 days. 2 days is before I would have lost my shit. I'm not gonna lie about it. 2 days, and then I'd be in a hotel.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting because I was a hairstylist at the time. Imagine this. Imagine holidays, our busy season, right?
Yes.
So they come in on the December 23rd at
Oh, the
night. We pick them up
worst.
from the airport. December 24th, the salon's open. I'm still going to work. I come home at Christmas Eve. I tried to stay longer at work, and my boss was like, Anetta, it's Christmas Eve, go home.
Like, you don't
And then I come
understand.
home.
And did he expect you to
Oh, it
dote
gets
on his
better.
family?
To what?
To like cook for them and like take care of them while they were there?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
But it even gets better. When I come home from work, my whole house is redecorated. I'm like,
No.
how did we get here?
No. Oh my God, that's
Bed sheets,
atrocious.
Christmas decorations, everything. My Christmas ornaments were different.
Okay, that's just sacrilegious. You can't go in somebody else's home and change their damn decorations now. Okay, see? I'm sorry to be rude, but this is how you know where he got this shit from. Because, like, no one in their right mind is going in someone else's house and changing shit. The first time you
You
meet
just
these
don't.
people,
If you want to bring a decoration or two and be like, I brought you a gift for the house, that's cool. But like, you're
yeah.
like literally gonna redecorate my house?
Girl, what did you do? Please tell me.
I got drunk. I didn't know what to do.
You were like, thank you.
That was the thing. It's like I didn't know what
There
to
was
do
nothing
because
you
my
could do,
parents
sis. Let's
came
not
over.
play. You did
There was
exactly the
nothing.
one option
My,
you had, which was get drunk and live with it.
yeah, yeah, literally. And then 2 days later, I was like, I can't. So then I left because it was just so chaotic. Like my parents and my brother came over, so they were there. I couldn't say anything, and then they were all hee hee ha ha in the living room, and I was like, only God can help us.
You're like, I'm gonna pour me another one, honey. I'm really feeling empathetic for you
Just
right now
another
because
one,
I can't
please.
even, I could, I, because here's the thing, the way my narcissism really pops out is like my need to control everything to death, especially my living environment. Like,
Mm.
over the last 6 months, I've kind of let things go because I live with four other people who don't give a fuck if I have a clean house. And I'm like, I don't have the energy level that I used to in my 20s to where I could keep up with shit. I'm 45 now, okay? So I cannot do all this by myself. So I'm learning how to like feel safe even in a messy ass house. That sounds stupid, but for a while I would have died if like my house looked the way it does. So if somebody came in my house who I already don't want there cuz I don't want anyone, not my best friend, no one. Like that's a new thing I'm integrating this year is learning to invite people over cuz it's a thing that makes me feel just awful. But like when I was at the height of any of my narcissistic traits, oh my god, I honestly don't know. I I think I would have been high probably, and probably just slept the whole time. Like anytime I was in the house, I would just be asleep and be like, I don't know. I'm sick, I guess. It's weird. Although, if you had done that, he would have gotten onto you.
But I did do that, so he was on to me.
Yeah. I already
That's
know
the
how that
thing.
went. You're treating my family like this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like I literally got to the point where I was like, I just don't care anymore. Like, I wouldn't even go in my car to smoke. I would literally just do it in my bedroom and
Because
I
you
didn't
didn't want
even
to
care
walk
to open
past
the
them?
window.
Yeah.
I didn't even care to open the window or close my bedroom door. That's how out of it I was. I was like, I don't care. I just don't care. I just want to get out of this apartment.
Oh my God, you poor thing. You poor thing. But it really does highlight, like, family systems create so much of this, and it's our responsibility to figure it out for ourselves. But if this is all you know, it's so hard to see the other things to know, you know? Mm.
Absolutely. And it's like I think when I learned this after, and it gave me a lot of grace and compassion because it's like all you know is all you know. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And if somebody knew better, then they would act better. But and I've learned to just love people from a distance, whether they're treating you bad or not. If they're not giving you what you need, like it's okay to love them from a distance if it's somebody that like you care about and want to keep in your life. But at the end of the day, it's like he probably just has a lot of childhood trauma that he hasn't dove in to heal yet. And
Hmm.
when I understood that, I remember the last thing that like I ever told him was, I forgive you, but I want nothing to do with you again. Like I forgive you for the pain, but I want absolutely nothing to do with you. And that was like the last thing I ever said to him after we filed for divorce.
Yeah, that makes so much sense to me though, because through this journey on my own shit, what I learned was I was purely motivated by spite in my former life. Like, I didn't know how to get drive or motivation outside of proving someone else wrong. And I had a lot of people to do that with because I was raised in kinship foster care with addict parents and blah, 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 blah. So I was very likely to become a statistic. And I am a lot of the statistics, I am. But I was very determined to be the first to go to college, to, make something of myself, whatever. And the other side now is being motivated purely by love and compassion for myself, and that being
Yeah.
the thing that I share with others. And I teach clients this too, where I say, do you feel the difference in every cell of your body when you just say things like, no, he's toxic for me, blah, 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 blah. He does this, versus because I love myself so much and I have so much compassion for myself, my compassion can extend to anyone, because when you get to this level of compassion for yourself, you understand that it is only our DNA that like separates us. We're all the same. We're all the same, and we're all doing very similar stuff. We have very similar narratives. So, like, I started to work really hard to figure out how I do things too. Like, oh, that really annoys me. I know that it only annoys me because of something inside of me. So, let me work on that part. Let me stop trying to like change and control everyone around me and figure out why every last thing is the end of the world for me. So, I it's just a different feeling to be like, I love myself so much that this doesn't feel aligned. So I'm going to send you off in peace and love. Like, go be better and do you. I don't hold hatred for you, but because I love myself so much, I can't do things that are this unaligned anymore. And you said something earlier that I keep coming back to too, when you were talking about like being afraid to leave with him present because he would be like telling you what an awful person you were for not
Mhm.
sticking it out. This is not something that I was really attuned to until I started getting a little bit better and I started to notice these patterns that people really believe. And I guess it is different when you're married, but people really believe you're supposed to just try and try and try no matter what. And it's like, man, if relationships aren't good, they're not good. Like, I understand there's religious principles behind why we stay married, and I don't believe in that shit. So it's whatever. But I remember knowing someone who couldn't even like handle things ending like in a talking stage or a situationship. Like I think they probably view loyalty as like sticking with them no matter what. But like, you don't have to and you don't need to. Like, we don't have to sit in the consequences of our actions for the rest of our lives because we made the mistake of marrying someone we shouldn't have married?
Absolutely. It's like you don't have to live in pain and you're not meant to suffer forever. I would say suffering is for a season and
Mhm.
challenges are a season, but they're not forever. So you don't have to. Like my season of the pain and the suffering with him was 3 years. But 3 years is better than 30 or forever. So I'm thankful that it was only those 3 years of trials and tribulations and tests because it gave me the opportunity to really snap back into reality and think, what do I want?
Mhm.
What is it that I want? Am I getting fulfilled or not? Am I running in circles, getting suppressed? Or am I really becoming who I'm meant to be? And if I wasn't becoming who I was meant to be in that relationship and that relationship wasn't adding value, then I need to move on because this is not okay.
Yeah.
One of like the biggest things is nobody wants to go through a divorce, but it's better to get a divorce than be unhappy and live in pain for the rest of your life. It's better because I was so scared on the other side, but to go to the other side, but once I did that, I was the happiest I could have ever been. I wasn't healed fully. I wasn't processing my emotions, but I knew that if I went through the pain, that kind of pain, there only had to be something better on the other side.
Absolutely. Ooh, I love that. So what started this side of the journey? Because you left and you felt better immediately, but to become this version of you, I know took a lot. So what did that look like?
For me personally, it was travel. So I started traveling as soon as I could. I mean, in a matter of 5 days, I left my ex-husband, I quit my job, I moved out of Chicago, moved back to my parents' house, and I left the country all in 5 days. And I went to this country called Belize,
Oh.
and God only knows what happened there. But it was one of the most freeing things because I was able to meet people and they didn't know me based on my past unless I
Mm-hmm.
said something. Growing up in Chicago, everybody knew me based on my past. My clients, they want to know the updates of my life every time they come in and vice versa. So it was hard to heal in a salon environment because if you have this one client that comes to you once every 3 months, well, she comes in month one, and then 3 months later, she wants to update. Well, I don't want to talk about the divorce anymore. I want to move on, but she wants to be updated. So it was a constant circle, and it was hard to heal in that environment. So
Mm-hmm.
I started traveling and I started discovering who I am and making friends abroad. And that was one of the biggest eye openers was just traveling and really getting a feel of what life could be like past those four walls.
I love that. You know, travel's not for everyone, but when you do it, even if it's local, like going to, because for me, nature's been a really big part of my healing. But even if it's just going to like a lake in your state or a state park or whatever, like getting out of whatever your current environment is so important.
Completely. And it's like, so like you don't have to go as extreme as I did of just leaving the country or moving to a new country, but go to a new city, go to a new state if it's close by, if it's drivable, or if there's a bus or a train that you can take. Just go somewhere that's unfamiliar to you so you can reconnect with yourself. It gives you the opportunity to think about what's actually more important, the way that this person treated me, or where am I going to go find a grocery store? Where am I going to go sleep? Because when you're in a place that's unfamiliar, you need to figure those things out. To sleep somewhere, to eat something, to make friends. If you're driving, where's the nearest gas station? Believe it or not, I've worked in towns where there was only one gas station. So that's a valid question if you're in rural areas.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So when did you leave uh hair dressing? Is that whatever the word is?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was a hairstylist from 2020 up until 24 May of 2024. That's
Wow.
when I left.
So a year.
And
What have
from,
you been doing?
yeah, I packed up my life and I moved to Mexico.
You're in Mexico?
I lived in Mexico for the last year. I packed my life into a carry-on suitcase and I said, I don't know anyone here. I don't know the language, but I'm gonna figure it out. And it was such a blessing. And I recently relocated a few weeks ago.
Wow. What part of Mexico?
Mexico City.
Wow. And what did you do there?
It gave me the opportunity to just really heal and like start a whole new life. But I was able to write a book and I started my podcast, Nourished Inside Out, as well, because I was taking my healing journey a lot more serious and I wanted to share my education with more people. So the
Yeah,
best way I can do it is through writing and yapping.
I love that. Are you a Gemini?
Leo.
Leo. Okay, that makes sense. Um, what tell me about your book.
Yeah, so I had a lot of limiting beliefs that I had to release. For example, when we get older, a lot of people will say, I need to learn this, I need to learn that. Well, not necessarily. Maybe you need to unlearn a lot of things. Because as we're children, we're so, in the formative years, we're so outgoing. We talk to people. You're at the grocery store, you see a toddler, and the toddler says hi to you because they're not formed by the world yet. So they still have that childlike in them. And when we get older, we get more closed off, we become more introverted, and we start to have negative thoughts about ourselves. So it's really unlearning and letting go of those limiting beliefs. So I started my first book, a 31-day positive affirmations and gratitude journaling, to really get into the habit of switching that mindset from negative to positive. And then there's like little action steps and some space to journal every each day.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really important. Man, you hit the nail right on the head. Sometimes you have to unlearn stuff. For me, it was I did an identity audit because I was doing a new moon thing and they're like, yeah, so do an identity audit and then figure out like what's the incongruency between like this person you're trying to become and what you are right now. And I was like, nothing. I'm already all of like I figured it out. Like at first I was like, yeah, and I'm writing it all down. Now I'm going through and I'm figuring out what my limiting beliefs are. Like if I want this, what is the thought that pops up at very first, and I'm writing it down. And then I was like, man, I'm already all of this. I just need to unbecome a few things. I need to unlearn a few things. But like I am really great. And it took understanding that being all of those things didn't mean I wasn't going to be a lot of things too, like messy, like I thought once I hit this destination point, I'm going to be able to do everything perfectly. I guess I just forget that, hormones are a thing and life is a thing that's going to stress. Like I don't live the life of a Buddhist monk. So like those dudes, they have no stress. They're out there, they're in the wild or wherever they live meditating and shit, and that is great. We need people like that in the world. But like I'm not that person. I'm going through real stuff. And similarly to you, I quit my job May of 2024 and I have been on the entrepreneurial journey this year, and there are tough times, like it's stressful sometimes because I'm nowhere near the income level that I used to be. And so it brings some stress with it. But like I'm not gonna I no longer seek some version of me that is perfect. And I really didn't understand that that's what I was doing. Perfectionism is so sneaky in my life. There's so many times it pops up and I have to be like, wait a second, am I trying to be perfect again? Because it happens all the time. Like, I don't even, sometimes the arguments between my husband and I leave me with the worst feeling. And then I figure out it's just because you don't like that you were messy, that you didn't handle it perfectly or whatever. Because I'm no longer behaving the way I used to. Like, I'm not, being a psycho bitch, but like, sometimes sometimes the opposite of that and being meek and mild and calm and zen and Buddha like feels like that's the way you're supposed to be. I'm like, that's not me. I have a lot of fire and I'm still learning how to harness that correctly, and so I think this is a very common thing that happens, is that we believe we're supposed to be this thing and nothing else. And it's the acceptance of all of those parts of us that really transcends and allows that freedom that comes with just surrender.
Exactly, it's imperfect action is better than no action, so be perfectly imperfect. The fact that you're out here and you're taking the step to be an entrepreneur and you left your job, that was imperfectly perfect. And that's beautiful because so many people dream about doing many different things, but they don't do it because they feel like all their ducks are not in a line, or they don't have the perfect blueprint right in front of them. But
Mhm.
the reality is that imperfect action is better than no action. As long we've all heard the example of if you want to go to the gym and you don't want to go in the morning, once you get that first step in, you'll be more motivated to do it. So all it takes is that first step of action, and the rest will start to fall into place if it's meant for you.
Mm.
Because if something is meant for you, you can't mess it up. If something is not meant for you, then it just won't work out. And if you're going to get taught the same lesson in different situations until you understand what your mission is or what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's a really beautiful thing because now that I look back on it, for 3 years, I was getting the same lesson in different situations and different days. But I needed to stand up for myself and get the F out of that relationship. Took me 3 years, but I'm thankful it wasn't anything more.
Mhm. You know what I have found interesting in this topic of imperfect action is we were just having this conversation last night because, I told you I just bought an external camera. And my
Mhm.
progression on my show has been very slow in terms of up in the production. I said, perfect is the enemy of good. I don't know a single thing about what I'm doing. And those early episodes were rough. They were. But I figured it out and I just started doing one thing at a time, figuring stuff out. And, you know, uh, first it was scheduling. Okay, great. I found Calendly. Like I just did things as I went. And what I have found, because my son was telling me that he sees people feel like they have to throw in all this money for production and all of this money for backgrounds and, assistants or even producers, the things that require that a podcast requires. But we were talking about how like it's so much better for you to go in not with none of that stuff and just put your heart and soul into it. And when you put your heart and soul into it, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter as much, and it happens organically. It'll just come, versus if you go and upfront all of that stuff, there's a really good chance your heart's not in the right place. Like podcasting may not be for you. You know what I mean? Like it might be. I'm not saying it's not, but if you didn't have this thing in you that just said, this is what I've wanted to do my whole life is talk, like, or whatever. For me, it really was that. And also, even before I was comfortable expressing what I believe my gifts to be, I knew that speaking is a gift for me, that I communicate well, and that I knew from a very young age my purpose was to alchemize this pain that I was given in childhood and share my story, that I would help others. And so looking for a medium to do that my whole life was really normal for me. So, podcasting came along. It just took me forever to like get over my fear of being seen, even though I wanted to be seen so bad. I was so afraid of it too. So once I like got over that, and again, the fear of staying the same just, got greater than the fear of change. Like I couldn't live that life anymore. So it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. But I have come across quite a few people that are really uncomfortable with my like willingness to do things I don't feel like I'm doing things half-assed, but like I feel like that's the perception sometimes because first of all, for me to execute from A to Z an entire plan of anything, I need some collaboration. So if it's just me, I don't know if you're into human design or at all. I only know a little bit, but I do know I'm a generator and I respond. I'm not the creator. That's why I need a template or whatever. I can make a template 1,000 times better, but I can't start from scratch and create something. That's why I personally pay for AI is because I'm like, help me come up with an outline for this. And then I wouldn't even end up using any of the stuff, but it gave me a format to work with. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. But I've come across people that are like, well, we need this, 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 and this. And I'm like, why do you have to have all that just to start? I don't understand. Why do we have to have all that? And I got into some real conflict with a couple of people over that. I mean, I didn't engage in the conflict, but they were conflicted.
Yeah, that's a really great point to bring up because you don't have to, it's just really getting out of your own way. Because the only person stopping you from achieving what you want is you and the thoughts that you allow in your mind. If you are afraid of being judged, then yeah, that's what people may not be judging you, but in your mind, you're gonna think they're judging you because that's how you're portraying yourself. So it really does start with getting out of your own way. I had to get out of my own way so many times, especially when I was in the relationship, because like, people were always judging me, but remember, I couldn't show it on the outside. So I had to look perfect on the outside, but deep down inside, I was insecure. I was emotionally unstable. I honestly don't even recognize that person anymore because I was hiding behind a wall. But I had to learn to get out of my own way. And when I started to get out of my own way, that's when my ex started to see, like, oh, like she's actually like doing something for herself and like taking care of herself. And then he was trying to push me back down. So it was a constant battle of, well, maybe he's right. Well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But again, those thoughts were trying to come in. So I had to learn to fight those thoughts and get out of my own way. And if you don't get out of your own way, you're gonna be chasing this in the circle, the same circle over and over and over because nobody is stopping you from chasing your dreams except you.
Yeah, so true. One time I told this girl on Facebook, uh, she's a small business owner, or yeah, that's how I'd classify her. And she was like, "Man, if I could only this." And I was like, "You know, you got everything you need inside of you." She's like, "Yeah, except money." And I'm like, "You're way off the mark, sis." Like, and this is another thing too that I think people don't understand, especially like doing any sort of entrepreneurship, is that like I've heard so many people be like, "Well, if I can just get investors or blah blah blah, then I can just quit my job and go start this thing." And I'm like, you're missing about 30 steps there. Because the first step is start this thing in your kitchen if that's what it takes. Cultivate that pride and joy. Figure out if it even feels good. Like, is it what you thought you wanted? Like is it going the way you thought it would? Not like are you experiencing setbacks? Because truly, I kind of feel like the more it's meant for you, the more setbacks you're going to encounter because I don't know, do you really want it? How much do you want it? Kind of thing. Or maybe that's just been my experience. I don't know. Yeah, I've had a lot of setbacks. I wouldn't say setbacks, but like tech issues, things like that. But just messy. It's been messy. It hasn't been linear at all. It's been very up and down, back and forth, and I'm fine with that. But I just feel like people think the circumstances have to be perfect too. And I get survival mode. I woke up in it. I went to sleep in it. I lived in that for 44 years. I understand. But there is a way to thrive. When shit around you is falling apart, there's still a way to get things figured out, to take that first step to change your environment or whatever it is. Even just leaving a toxic workplace was so great for me, but whatever it is, you can start to cultivate that inner resilience in any situation and start listening to that intuition to take the right steps versus just staying in fear, you know?
Well, absolutely. And I think I'm a visual person. So, like, I always try to think about situations in visuals. So, if you have a bow and arrow and you pull the arrow back once, imagine that as a setback. And then you face another setback, you pull the arrow back again, and then you pull it back a couple more times. The arrow is going to go a lot further from the fifth or sixth setback versus the first one. So if you're facing setbacks, it's because you're in the process of being forged into the best version of yourself with the skills and the knowledge and the resilience. So when it's time for you to flourish and to blossom, you're gonna go so far. There's I don't know if you know anything about the bamboo plants, but if you plant a bamboo seed, you're not going to see anything for 2 to 4 years. And then after 2 to 4 years, that bamboo, when it grows through the ground, you can't stop it.
Yeah.
So, like, imagine, are you willing to make the sacrifice of a small period of your life of building something behind the scenes, and then when the time is right, it will flourish. There's a seed time and a harvest time. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. So the day you plant the seed, you need to water it, you need to nurture it, you need to love on it, and make sure it gets the proper sunlight. That's the same thing with you. You need to make sure you're eating properly, you're sleeping properly, you're talking to yourself kindly, and eventually all of those nourishing aspects that you're adding to yourself, it will cause you to bloom at the right time. So don't give up because you don't see any results right away. You don't see that bamboo for 2 to 4 years because it's in the forging process.
Oh,
But when it comes and you can't stop it.
that is so profound because picturing the bamboo breaking through and just going wild. Oh my God. Thank you for sharing that. Seriously. I'm like picturing a bamboo logo and a bow and arrow. Like it like created all these visuals for me. I'm like, oh my God, those are both really good analogies. Like very, very good. Man, that I'm gonna remember that for sure. Yeah, I think we've just always had the wrong idea about all this. Like we think it's harder than it is, all of this, because the stress now, especially as my foundation gets stronger, but the stress now, like it's nothing compared to, and yeah, sometimes the stress is like, how am I gonna pay my car payment this month? But like it doesn't feel the way that old life did. That life made me want to die. So I can handle some financial hiccups right now for long-term success. You know what? And I am going to take off like bamboo at some point. We're in the slow build right now, and it's an upward trajectory. Things are going great. It's just, money is a little tight, but that's fine. Nothing is that hard. We just make it so hard because of all of the narratives that we've attached and all the meaning that we've attached, all the morality that we assign, all the emotions that we assign to any given event, and learning to just surrender and understand like things just happen. Like it doesn't, if they're happening for you and not to you. And that was just a really big lesson for me was none of this is meaningless. It all has meaning. And I've loved everything that you have said today because I feel like you really reinforced that notion. And I appreciate. What is the name of your book?
It's called blooming with self-love.
Oh, I love this. And when was it released?
It was released almost a year ago, so last August.
That's crazy. Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
cool.
you.
When did you start your podcast? In May of last year, too?
No, in November of last year, so not even a year ago.
Okay, great. Yeah, your name, The Nourished Inside Out, sounded familiar. So I must have seen clips of yours or something at some point because that sounded really familiar. In fact, earlier I Googled it to see if like anything rang a bell of how I would have heard that. But I love the name of your show and I love the work you're doing. I would love to stay connected if that feels aligned for you. And collaborate in any way, shape, or form that you're willing to. I'm trying to build community because, like I'm still, I that period where you just kind of, you don't feel the same dynamic with the old people, so like I don't spend that much time outside of my house. I work from home now, so like everything is just kind of centered around the house, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll make friends eventually, but I decided I would just build a little online community and become friends there. So, if you want to be friends, that's cool. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
you
And
telling me.
I just want to add on to that. It's community is the new currency because when we're all faced with challenges, we want a community of people that we can rely on. When I was going through the dark times of my divorce, people around me didn't understand. Like my parents didn't know what to say to me. Obviously, I wasn't going to go to my ex, and my friends around me, they didn't know what to say. And I was looking for a community of people who could understand me. So community is the new currency. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It's the power of more than the two or more people coming together and knowing that they have each other's back. So what you're doing, Melissa, is so beautiful, and it's just the beginning of something incredible. So keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
certainly am. I feel good about everything. Just working hard, starting to figure out a background and shit a year later. Cause my first episode aired April 29th of 24. So I,
Wow.
I've really stuck with the basics up until now. So like I bought a mic and headphones a couple of months ago, basically when I joined Podmatch, because I started to be on other people's shows, and I was like, yeah, they really appreciate if you have some decent equipment. So I bought those to be on other people's shows, and then when I got really crystal clear and unafraid to say like, no, I really do want my podcast to make me money. That's where I really want like my focus to be, that and public speaking and maybe more books and stuff down the road. I don't feel super inspired to write right now because I've gotten so comfortable speaking. Writing was really a safe space whenever I felt so afraid to speak because I needed to deliver perfect communication. Um, so I don't feel inspired to write right now, but I'm sure I will again eventually. But I'm really trying to go all in on my show right now. And I don't know what that means, honestly. Like I don't know, because I know I don't really want to go to a network, but maybe sponsors or something, just to make an income from it. Um, so I'm like, okay, time to up the production costs a little bit, but just a little bit at a time, because mama ain't got all that money. So, we doing it little bits at a time. But now that my kids are starting to see like, oh, she's not super douchey for starting a podcast. It's actually going somewhere. Then my 22-year-old, he's actually been giving me really good ideas because he consumes podcasts. Like I'm like, I'm a douche, but like you watch podcasts. He said, Mom, it's all douchey until they take off. And then, that's what he told me a year ago. It's like everybody's a douche until their show takes off, and then we're all like, oh, they were actually cool. And I'm like, thank you for saying that. I'm not even gonna take it personally. Okay, so
People
I'm
won't
gonna
support you until it's popular to support you. So
exactly,
that's
exactly. Well, that's what
that's
my
how it
husband told me
is.
too, was like, honey, yes, people are going to be making fun of you behind your back. You are right about that. You know that because you've done that to other people. But then what? When you see them start to have success, then they pay attention and then they say, can you help me? And so true. It's so true. And I've had to get over any resentments of it and just be like, but you don't have to help. Say no if you don't want to. But I don't want to like even energetically engage in that bullshit. But it is true. That's how people do things, is that they're like, did you see? And I mean, I've been that girl. So no hate. Like we've all been toxic versions of ourselves. So I get it. But it did not help my fear of being perceived. But once I just was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I don't care. Then you really do just kind of stop caring about that stuff because you get more and more passionate. And when there's passion, there's no room for fear. Like when you just fill that space with as much passion as you can, the fears just really die. I think it's great. I'm super excited. And I'll make sure I go. What I like to do is I'll make sure I follow your podcast and set it for automatic downloads. But yeah, like I said, I'd love to stay connected. So, okay, I'm gonna quit recording. So for the audience, thank you so much. I will make sure I include all of your links, but is there anything that you want to shout out for people to find you or anything like that?
Yeah, so I'm everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Substack. So Substack is where I do a lot of writing and my newsletter, and YouTube will be at Nourished Inside Out, and then my TikTok and Instagram is aneta.wakla. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, Melissa. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. I've loved it. Emotionally unavailable. Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming. Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.